focused on is mobility for Aaron Rodgers and how much impact this run game will have. Look, Aaron Rodgers is great, and we know about his history and his career, but this is a league now where you're going to have to get off your spot and make plays outside of the box, and he was phenomenal at doing it. So that'll be something that I have my eyes on, especially with Quentin Williams creating and generating pressure in the center of the pocket on dropbacks. Will he have the ability to do this enough? I'm not saying turn back the hands of time and become the athlete that you were, but this league now, in this day and age, your quarterback is going to be uncomfortable and have to make some plays outside of his own element, and that'll be the thing I'm looking for. But again, the run game will help him tremendously be able to be the quarterback that Pittsburgh is hoping he can be.
Yeah, they got to be able to run the ball. That's where the Harrison Phillips edition in New York is interesting to me. The other thing I think I'm interested in from the Jets' perspective, are they going to heat him up? Because last year, Aaron Rodgers was really bad against the blitz, 30th in QBR, 33rd in yards per attempt. And if there's one thing I know about Aaron Glenn, their new head coach, and Steve Wilks, their defensive coordinator, they love sending extra rushers. You got to think they're going to ask Sauce Gardner to man up DK Metcalf for much of this game. So I think the question is, okay, if you send pressure, can you get home? And also, can you take away the other answers like Jonnu Smith and whatnot? Because Aaron Rodgers has proven to be quite susceptible against that at this point in his career.
You know what? I love the fact that you mentioned Jonnu Smith, meaning because Jonnu Smith is truly going to be the number 2 receiver on this team. You're going to see some 12 personnel with Pat Freiermuth on the field, moving Jonnu Smith to the U position where he can go in motion. You can create trips, some bunch formations where you can allow him and DK Metcalf to work from the same side. And to me, it's going to be, can Aaron Rodgers in some way play fearless, right? We know that throughout his career, he's been risk averse. The Pittsburgh Steelers don't need that. It's going to be about Jalen Warren, and it's going to be about Kenneth Gainwell. Caleb Johnson will play into that as well, the draft pick from Iowa. But can Aaron Rodgers put some juice into this offense? Listen, I went to training camp practice, and Marcus, you're right. I don't know if he's going to be able to run around, and I don't know if he's going to be able to get out of sight in a day. But I tell you what, he could still throw it. There were passes getting up on wide receivers so quickly that had been in Pittsburgh for their career. You could tell they had never seen somebody that could really throw since Ben Roethlisberger retired. And what I loved about that is Arthur Smith saying, we got to catch up. We got to get back with it. And so you think run game first, and then Aaron Rodgers pushing the football down the field to DK Metcalf and Jonnu Smith. It could get exciting with protection.
Yeah, 5 touchdown passes shy, by the way, of tying Brett Favre for the fourth most in history. And it is time for our first game picks of the season, and we are all on the Steelers.
You know what that means.
And that's the gong, because that's our curse, the NFL Live curse. If we all pick the same team, they lose. Patriots reporter Mike Vrabel has ruled cornerback Christian Gonzalez out for the season opener. He has a hamstring. Vrabel also says left tackle Will Campbell with an ankle is questionable. The Pats open up against the Raiders in that early window on Sunday. Bills defense, the divisional playoffs, of course, last year. He posted an 84 total QBR, his highest in any loss in his career. Of course, as you know, he was also responsible for 2 of his team's 3 turnovers in this game, and they are without Isaiah Likely. Mina, how can this offense avenge that loss on this very same field where it happened on Sunday night?
All right, I'm not going to say Baltimore shouldn't run the ball. They're obviously going to run the ball and do it well. But when you look at the matchup, guys, Patrick Ricard also probably not playing. And then you look at that Bills secondary, which has kind of flown under the radar. What a situation they've got in Buffalo. Cornerback 2, giant question mark. Christian Bedford's coming off the injury. The safety group is not a strength. If I'm Baltimore, I actually go pretty heavy 11 personnel. And you're attacking them through the air with Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers, who, you remember, did not play in the playoff game. I actually think you could be massive in this one, guys. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're a little bit more spread him and shred him than maybe we associate with this Ravens team.
Yeah, it's always good reminding people, right? Because it seems like yesterday, but it was a while ago, and we forgot there was no Flowers. And this is the first ever opener featuring two quarterbacks, RC, who went 1 and 2 in MVP voting. What do you want to see from that Ravens secondary against Josh Allen?
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say, Hannah. You're talking about Josh Allen, who won the MVP, but where Mina is saying the Bills aren't great in the secondary, the Baltimore Ravens should be absolutely phenomenal. I mean, it's like Oprah's handing out first rounders back there. You get a first rounder, you get a first rounder, you get a first rounder. And you're talking about a Buffalo Bills wide receiver room that's not stacked with stars, that's not stacked with production. And so if I'm the Baltimore Ravens, I understand, let's stack the box, let's stop the run. That's what they've been leaning on in Buffalo since Joe Brady took over. And let's lean into our strength with the highest paid safety in the league, a rookie safety from Georgia and Malachi Starks, and first-round corners that could absolutely lock up and lock down on the outside.
Man, all those starters, first-rounders. It's so exciting. Of course, we've been saying they might have the best roster in all of the land, and here we go again, because we are all on the Ravens.
This one makes me a little more nervous.
I hate us so much.
They're
I hate
going
us all
song
so
again,
much.
which means the Bills.
She did the Marcus. You know it's bad when she got to do the Marcus right here.
right. But by the way, our researcher, because we are all on in line for so many things, our researcher's gonna go the other side. All right. So Bond says, keep in mind, the Bills have won 11 straight home games.
Okay.
Just saying. And we probably just helped them there with 12 in a row. All right, let's move on to a tantalizing NFC North opener. The Lions at the Packers. The Packers were swept by the Lions last year. Jordan Love's play on third down was a factor. He actually completed less than 40% of his passes, just 2.5 yards per attempt. That is far below what he did against other teams, completing 55% of his third down passes and averaging over 6.5 yards per attempt. RC, and now, of course, the Lions have Aiden Hutchinson back. That defense was so banged up. Right now, they're healthy. So what's the key for this Packers offense?
I mean, last year, when you think about the way the season ended for the Detroit Lions, me and Marcus were out there. And I saw Marcus tweet the other day when somebody told him, can you come back? He was like, hell, you trying to give up 80. And, you know, and so now you think about the Detroit Lions being healthy and also struggling a little bit with health in the room of the wide receivers of the Green Bay Packers. And so if I'm Green Bay, if I'm Matt LaFleur, I'm going to lean on that creative run game with Josh Jacobs. And now Ken Matthew Golden, who when drafted seemed like he'd be a luxury, he'd get an opportunity to come along as the season went on, he's going to have to show up. So I'm starting with Josh Jacobs. I'm starting with physicality, creativity, finding a way to get him loose. And then I want to move Jordan Love into the play action game. We sometimes forget how athletic Jordan Love is. Let's move the spot. Let's push the football down the field and really test this new defensive coordinator, Kelvin Shepard of the Detroit Lions, and see what adjustments he can make if we start making explosive plays as an offense.
RC, I love that point. I think for Green Bay, too, one of the big things I remember from last year is that they played behind so much in the second half. I want to see them get off the early starts and jump it. Bunzi, our researcher, sent me, they trailed half the season, 8 games last year. They trailed at half.